Because it depends, you know. If you cannot be silent or insult, that means someone can call me, someone call me, hey, Schmendrik, and I'll turn around, right? That means, you know, I admit that my name is Schmendrik, right? So, because otherwise I wouldn't turn around, right? Someone call me dirty Jew, and I'll turn around. That means already I admit that my name is dirty Jew, right? Because, well, you weren't talking to me, you know. If I know that I'm created by God, you know, that means all the names which God has are my names also, right? They're all holy names. So if I know my name's in God's name, you know, someone calls me dirty names, he wasn't talking to me in the first place. But it takes a lot of strength, you know. You know. You really have to bow down to God with great, great holiness, you know. Because until you're on the level of really bowing down to God with great holiness, you still don't know your name, right? You still don't know your name. If I really know that my name is really God's name, you know, then I can bow down to God, right? And then I can study the Torah, because it's all God's names. And then I'm filled with the surrounding light, which is honor, with this inner light, which is called strength. And then I can be silent, right? It's tough stuff, you know. Okay, anybody wants to say something? Anybody wants to tell me back a little bit? Would be a good thing. What do you say, Lemon?
There's a question. Something's hard for me to put together.
Yeah.
We're talking about not responding, you know, to insult.
Yeah.
But then last night we were talking about, the rabbi who had organized a revolution.
Oh, that's something else. It's not insult. It's saving lives, you know.
Yeah.
It was not that the Germans called us dirty Jews. They wanted to kill us. And you have to protect your people. I wish we would have done more to protect ourselves. It's not insulting. It's not. You see, if someone, listen to me, if someone comes and wants to kill somebody here, I would say, you know, I'm not responding. I'm bowing down to God and I'm mumbling a few words. Crazy. Don't mumble, you know. Just, you know, drive them out or do something, you know. We're talking purely on a word level, you know, on the insult of honor level, you know. And but you see, the truth is, the holiness, I know what you mean, you know, in a certain way, you know. If someone wants to kill me, you know, I have a right to be silent. You know. I can say, I'm offering my life to God, I'm silent. But if someone wants to kill the whole world, you know, I cannot say, I'm offering them. Who are you to offer somebody else, right? You see, the holiness of the Rebbe was when the Germans took 10 Yiddelach, and he didn't have for one moment to go himself. He wouldn't say, you know, I'm silent, I want to offer 10 Yiddelach. He has the right to offer somebody else, right? His life he is always ready to give. But he really wanted to protect the whole world, you know? Especially the Yiddelach. Who is it?
It's for Louise, is she here?
No, not at this point. You see, you have to know, it's always very, very strong, you know. I have a right to sacrifice my life to God, but I have no right to sacrifice somebody else's. You see, I hate to say bad things. You know, the Christian religion is that they're always ready to sacrifice somebody else for God, you know. Got to kill all the Jews for the glory of God, right? I'll tell you something very, very strong, you know. The prophet says, we're reading it Seder night, and I'm telling you, live in your blood. Live in your blood. You know, the whole thing that the Christian world said on Pesach, we're using blood, because Seder night we're saying, live in your blood. It means we need blood. But the only small difference is, it never says live in somebody else's blood. Everybody's ready to live in somebody else's blood, right? But the prophet says to you, what?
But maybe we don't use the blood of other people, but what about the blood of animals? We do make animal sacrifices.
Yeah, but this is, okay, that's a good question, but I guess, because animals, we are, you know, that's a good, I don't know, I don't want to get involved now, because then you'll ask me, I really don't know the answer, you know? But the thing is that, according to, you know, whatever it is, when first of all, in the Holy Temple, we never sacrifice an animal, you may believe it or not, against the animal's wishes, you know?
How did you ever get into the mind of the animal?
Okay, you see, like an animal, you know, the moment it would come to the Holy Temple, the animal would mamish walk up, like dance, you know? Really. Yeah, believe it or not.
Well.
Okay, that's what it is. Because I think about it, an animal can live his whole life be an ox and die as an ox. And here the animal had a chance to really to get the highest heaven. You know, the ox wasn't stupid. You know, maybe we are stupid, but the ox knew if I go to the holy temple, you know, I can just reach the highest level in the world. You know. And the truth is, you know, according to strict law in the Talmud, you know, the truth is, you know, the Gemara says that a person who's not very holy really has no right to eat meat. His excuse is because when he eats the meat, he's lifting up the soul of the animal to a higher level, you know. But for people just to eat meat because they like meat, really they have no right to kill the animal. It's the truth. So Rav Kook came out with a whole book, and I always forget to bring it with me. He says that today he feels they really have the right to eat meat, you know.
Rav Kook?
Yeah. In a certain way. The whole book, remind me I should bring it. Because there's a whole book and, you know. But still, you know, everybody understands just a little bit, still different than blood of an ox and blood of children, you know, a little bit. But you see, it has to be your own blood, you know. I can be ready to sacrifice myself, but nobody else. Then let's learn one more passage. It says, Koil Hashem alamoim. God's voice is upon the waters. Okay, this if some of you kids remember, we're learning it so often. Anybody knows which are the waters? Any folk if you know?
Which waters?
Yeah, which waters? Which waters? Where do you hear God's voice on the waters?
In Torah?
Yeah, that's pretty good, you know. Because the Torah is like water. Why is the Torah like water?
Flows, flowing, comes in.
Because the Torah, water always flows to the lowest place, right? And the Torah is always flowing down to the lowest. If you're up there, the Torah flows away from you. If you make yourself the lowest in the world, the Torah flows into you. So it's the voice of learning, of Torah, and then it's the voice of prayer, because the tears, right, is the strongest. Kol Hashem alamoim. Most in the Medrash always says Kol Hashem alamoim. It really means the voice of tears. You know. Then it says Keila kovet hirim. That means the God of glory was making a big tumult, a hurricane. Hashem, God is almayim rabim, on many waters. Okay, when it means prayers, you have to realize one thing. Okay, Kol Hashem alamoim, God is on you can hear God's voice on one tier, right? But then Keila kovet hirim, Hashem almayim rabim. You know, Keila kovet, how does it translate? Or the God of glory, thunderous, I say. Even the Lord upon the great waters. Okay, what is this thunder? I'll tell you something very, very deep, you know. You know what one tear can do? The Medrash says if someone really offers one honest tear, you know, then this tear includes all the tears of the whole world, right? Okay, my little tear maybe it's just a little wind, but all the tears of the world is a hurricane, right? So when God listens to one tear, what is really happening in heaven? First it says Kol Hashem alamoim, God's voice is upon one tear, the waters, but Keila kovet hirim, God really makes a hurricane, al mayim rabim, because he lifts up all the tears. To make myself clear. And why is God here called God of honor? Anybody wants to explain me just a little bit, think of it? I want you to know something very deep. When someone comes and asks me a favor, right? Someone cries before me. It's really like they're diminishing their honor a little bit, right? You know? Makes themselves small before me, asking me a favor, right? But you know, the way, it depends completely on me. It's possible someone comes to ask you a favor and give him back all their honor, right? why they're asking you this favor. It depends how you're listening to it, right? So it says the way God is listening to tears, He's mamash restoring the honor to the people who cry before Him. Which is very, very deep, I'll tell you something very strong which happened to me personally. At one time, when I was humble and poor, while I was going to college a little bit, I never went officially a little bit. Anyway, so I had to have a few rubles. I was substitute teaching in yeshivas, Anyway, I was thrown out from every yeshiva. I never made it more than 2 weeks in a school. Anyway, I walked into that school, so they told me they need a substitute teacher for 3 weeks, and it's a very bad class, very, very bad. And the most rotten kids are there, which was true. The sweetest kids in the world. Okay, I asked the kids, what's your name? He says, my name is Joel, the thrill killer, And the other one name, he says, everyone had a crazy name, But it was really so good, Because those kids they were taken out from all the other classes and put in a special class that they're bad, Just I'll tell you first what happened to Joel, the thrill killer, Kids of 11 years, Joel the thrill killer, So, and, he thought when I will, because never he knew from the other teachers, he calls himself Joel the thrill killer, then, I'll tell him, what kind of talk is that? You're in a yeshiva here, or hit him over the head or shockle him a little bit. So I said, listen, Joel, you're my man, Anyway, and I really became good friends with him. And then I heard never from him that he has no father, and his mother never was working so hard to pay his tuition for the yeshiva, So I decided, So one day I call up Joel in his house, I say, Joel, how you doing, man? I just wonder how you feeling. Put his mother on. I said, Joel, I really love him. He's my man, So she began to cry so much, She said, I'm working so hard to send him to yeshiva. And the teacher always calls me up to tell me how bad he is. The first time in the 5 years going to yeshiva that someone calls up to tell me he's a good boy, Really sweet little boy, He grew up on the streets. What else should he call himself, But anyway, I had to deal with those kids that I forgive everything, I'll tell you something. The first week we were learning so good, Sometimes I think back, now I know more. I know how good it is. At that time I didn't realize, But mamish, the kids didn't want to sit on their seats. They didn't want to sit on seats. Okay, don't, Okay, I had like a big chair, but 4 kids were sitting on the chair with me. Some on the desk, some on the floor, some on the window. I don't care. Well, mamish learning, Well, mamish learning. Sadly enough, in walks the principal. He starts yelling. He says, "What's going on here? This is not the class. Get back to your seats. Sit straight. Sit up tight. Okay, he destroyed already that part of the class. Okay, so what can you do? I says, kids. And first of all, it's destroying kids. They think they respect me, but then they realize I'm just a shmendik in the hands of the principal. It's bad. Okay. It wasn't so good anymore. It was already the second week. But then I had to deal with the kids like this. I forgive everything, but one thing I don't forgive. If someone is crying, it happens among kids, they cry sometimes. And if someone can laugh while someone else is crying, this boy cannot be in my class. Absolutely not. You cannot be in my class. So one morning I walk in and 2 kids were fighting. And Nebuch, one boy began crying. He was really crying, Nebuch, A little boy of 9, So I was sitting on my chair, I was learning with the kids in between consoling. He was mamish crying for help. I couldn't stop crying. Suddenly I noticed one boy in the last row making faces at him, I say, listen, brother, remember we had a deal, I forgive your fighting with him, but I don't forgive you making faces. It's a bad scene. It means you have no heart, you have no soul. How can you study the Torah if you have no heart? So I said, give you one more chance. We're learning again. 5 minutes later, I see this boy still making faces at him. It was really bad. I tell one boy, do me a favor, call the principal, And then today I wouldn't have done it. But then I was still like half establishment. I thought you were going to talk to the principal. The principal comes up. What do you think the principal is doing? He walks in, he sees the boy crying, he starts making faces at him. So then he says, why did you call me? I said, I can't tell you here, I have to tell you outside. I walk outside and I tell him, friend, you're a good principal, I'm sure I'm a bad teacher, but this is one thing I don't tolerate, Anyway, after 2 days, I was dismissed from my substitution. But anyway, when someone is crying, especially if someone asks you for a favor, it's a very, very deep thing, If you can listen to someone in such a way that, like, giving them all their honor, Not only giving back the honor they had before, giving them even more honor, right? So it says, Kael HaKoved, the God of honor, You know what by God means? He has honor because he gives honor, right? God doesn't need me to give him honor, because God is called the God of honor because he gives honor, right? Kael HaKoved, when God hears one tear, it's a storm, right? It's a storm, right? And a storm of honor. Hashem al Maim Rabim. And also, in regard to learning, this is very, very beautiful. How did God give us a Torah on Mount Sinai? It was mamish thunder, right? Well, there are two kinds of thunder, There's a thunder which can make you afraid. There's some kind of a holy thunder which gives you strength, It's Gewalt, Real, holy kind of thunder. On Mount Sinai, every word, every drop of water, every drop was given to us with great thunder, Hashem al Maim Rabim, God was on many waters. You know what it is? The truth is, you have to realize one thing. Imagine I study psychology, I know psychology. I don't know chemistry, right? I study chemistry, I don't know philosophy. The holiness of the Torah is that in every word of the Torah is the whole Torah. It really is. The whole Torah is, if I know one word, I'm really connected to all the words of the Torah. So maybe if one word is a little storm, right? But then, Kael HaKoved Hashem al Maim Rabim, if I really learn one word, and I connect to this one word, then I can hear the thunder of all the words. Hashem al Maim Rabim can hear the thunder of all the words of the Torah. Okay, anybody wants to say about this something? And I want you to know one more thing, This is also from another commentary. Imagine say something very, very strong. What is really the difference between a real good friend and a half-good friend? The difference is very simple. Imagine right now I'd be sad, I'd be crying because something happened to me right now. But the truth is, a lot of things happened to me in my whole life, right? So it's like this. Imagine if I'm coming to not such a good friend and I'm crying because this happened to me, So then they say, okay, cool it and take it to heart, it's okay, But I cannot cry off everything which happened to me all my life at this moment, right? For a true friend, I can have one tear, cry a little bit, but then suddenly I know I can feel the storm of everything, of all the tears which ever came to me, And listen to this, is very, very deep. What makes me cry, Well, how come certain things make me cry and some don't? It's very simple, if someone hurt my honor, but not just stupid honor, really, my soul has this surrounding light, If something touches this holy surrounding light of me, this holy honor of me, it really makes me cry, It really makes me cry. So it says, you have to realize one thing, the Psalms is not just a prayer. Mamash, King David is really teaching us what it is to be a servant of God, how to be a Yiddish, right? How to be a mensch, right? So the thing is, it says the way God is listening to prayers. First of all, Kol Hashem alamoyim, you know. It's mamish God's voice, you know. Meaning to say, when someone is crying, if you just hear this little person crying, you're wrong. You mamish have to hear God's voice crying. And then Kela Kovadirem, you know, the God of, why is God crying? Because someone hurt his honor. You know, because we are created in God's image, right? I'll tell you something, even animals, you know. I'll tell you something very strong. I once had a friend, and this girl had a real big dog. Very big dog. She was sweet. After that, she became like a little bit of my friend. But that time, when I met her and the dog, because they were always walking around on 79th Street, you know. So whenever I was taking a walk, she was coming with a big dog, you know. And some of the dog liked me a little bit, you know, and was always licking me, so sweet. And I saw one thing, that she's sometimes yelling at the dog, you know. I told her, you know, you don't have to yell at him all the time, you know, sometimes, you know. Although he was a little bit of a wild dog. Okay, one day she went with me to a concert. So we came back, as I walked her up to where she lived, and then the dog, it was a little dog, it was only half a year old, it was really a big dog, and he did a few things in the room which he should have done on the street. You know? So this little dog, you know, he knew that she's going to yell at him, you know. But, you know, dogs, you know, understand the whole thing. So you know what he did? He was mamish in a corner, and he was mamish really afraid. He was kind of sad, you know. So then he saw me coming in, you know. So he decided I'll protect him, you know. So he ran around the whole room, and he went behind me, you know. Really sweet, you know. I realized one thing, you know. You know, the truth is, even, you know, animals have also like a holy honor, you know. Everything is holy honor, you know. But human beings from a higher level, you know, it comes mamish like, remember I told you there's an honor which is contracted, and there's an honor which is complete, right? Let's put it this way, you know, if you're deep, right? If someone is crying today about anything in the world, you should hear the whole generation cry, right? Not only this one person. And if you hear this generation cry, you should hear the whole world, right? All generations, right? Okay, let's make a stop. Anybody wants to say something strong? No. I say the psalm is translated and it's absolutely meaningless, because what do they get out of it, you know? No, it doesn't turn me on. It's really good what he said, you know, because I said that the tears have to do with honor. What happens if I cry because I cut my finger? Yeah, I'll tell you something. This is very, very deep. You know, if someone cries because he cut his finger, then he is not really crying before me, you know. He's just crying. It hurts him. Those tears are not so deep. But imagine someone comes to me, right? Then someone doesn't come to me and tell me I cut my finger, right? He can tell me and cry because it hurts him. But if someone comes and asks me a favor, do me this, you gotta do me a favor, and he's crying, he's coming to me, right? Right now we're talking about praying, right? On the level, you know, what we have to learn from God, right? Someone comes to God, right? Ask him a favor. Or come to a human being asking a favor, you know. That's already on the level of honor, you know. Because if I ask someone a favor, you know, that's a very deep thing, you know. But our relationship to God is also, it's a very, very, very deep thing, you know. Did I make myself clear a little bit, yeah?
My Muslim thing, she always told us there that, I think this is the truth, and it comes out real good. Klap vergeet und Wort versteht.
Say it again, what?
Klap vergeet
Yeah.
Wort versteht. That's a very big, big thing.
That's a big thing. You know what it says? If someone knocks you, gives you a knock over the head, you forget it.
I think,
But the word you remember.
No,
Yeah.
the way I understand, I don't know about how my brother and my sisters took it, but the way I took it is, when you hit one,
Yeah.
the pain eventually
Wears
goes
off,
away.
yeah.
Yeah, wears off. But a
Well,
hard word,
you remember.
scolding or something, remains till probably till death. Right?
I hope not, but it's true.
No,
yeah.
isn't it true? It's not a big thing.
Yeah, it's a
There's
strong
lot of
thing,
truth.
yeah.
Okay.
Shlomo, I have a question.
I can tell you one more thing. You know, there are voices from heaven, you know, really all day long, you know. You know, the Gemara says that there's a voice from heaven which is saying all the time, return your children to me. Shua bonu shavodim, return back, come back. So the Holy Baal Shem Tov says, so what good is it if there's a voice in heaven if I don't hear it? So the Holy Baal Shem Tov says, the truth is, everybody hears that voice. Everybody hears that voice. If I walk on the street and suddenly something, I really know I should really become better. It's really because I heard God's voice. You know? So it says, then there's also a voice every day from heaven, and it says, woe unto the father whose children don't eat at his table, you know. Because like we are God's children, we're always eating at someone else's table, you know. So if you hear something like this, you know, suddenly it cuts you, you know. Why am I going always to other tables, you know? Why am I can sit at my own table, at my father's table, you know. But you know, it's really very strange. You know, this is a commentary by one of the pupils of the Holy Baal Shem. You can smell it already. It's like the Holy Baal Shem a little bit. So it says you have to know one thing. We are not clear prophets, you know. We are not clear prophets, but we are little prophets, you know. We're really little prophets, you know. You know, if I'll tell a psychiatrist I can hear voices from heaven, he'll lock me up, right? But the Baal Shem Tov says it's true. We really hear voices from heaven, you know. We really do. Then there's another voice. It says, God is crying, why do people insult my teaching so much? You know? How much insulting is teaching, you know? Imagine someone gives me good advice, I walk away and I do just the opposite. Insulting them, right? So God is teaching us all the time what to do, and we right away do something else. Right, so sometimes we hear that voice, you know, Gewalt, why did I do it? Why would I know? So the Baal Shem Tov says, Koil Hashem alamoyim. Listen to this, it's very, very beautiful. I want you to think of it very deep. When I study something, right? So this is God's word, right? This is the water, right? But then what's God's voice? God's voice is that he's like crying, could you please do it? Please don't insult my teaching, right? Meaning to say, if I really learn Torah, you know, then I hear two things. I hear God saying to me, let's say, you know, keep Shabbos, but I also hear God's voice crying, you know, oh, why don't you really keep Shabbos, you know? Something like this, you know? It's really strong, you know? Okay. Let's see, where's this here, this holy schedule with all the names? Where did I write down what everybody wants to learn? Now tell me, I lost it already. Oh, I have it right here. What else? Okay, let's learn what holy. Oh, let's learn Shulchan Aruch for a few minutes. Can you give me Shulchan Aruch the Chaim base? Yeah. Okay, let's learn one more thing. I don't know why I just... You know, in the whole Torah and the whole Talmud all over the place, we find a few places where they talk about honor, you know? One is called, we talk about kavod Torah, you know, to honor the Torah, God's word, God's teaching. Then we talk about kavod habriyos, you know, to honor God's creatures, you know. It doesn't say briyos, you know, means just a little creature. Really honor little creatures, you know. But then a very important thing, we're talking about the kavod Shabbos, right? An honor of Shabbos. It's very, very important. Meaning to say, if someone can keep Shabbos, do everything right, but he doesn't do it in honor of Shabbos, right? You know, the old Chassidim, the way they would eat, they would take a spoon and they would say, lekavod Shabbos, in honor of Shabbos. Another spoon, lekavod Shabbos. Everything, lekavod Shabbos. You know, they would run to the mikveh, they would yell, lekavod Shabbos, in honor of Shabbos, you know. They would shine their shoes, lekavod Shabbos, you know. Put on a new shirt, lekavod Shabbos, in honor of Shabbos, you know. And the real top Chassidish Rebbetzins, you know, they would go Shabbos morning, ich weiß, buy gefilte fish in the store, you know, take the fish and yell, lekavod Shabbos, right? Buy apples, lekavod Shabbos. It's a strong thing just to do it, you know, lekavod Shabbos. Whatever you do, you buy lekavod Shabbos, right? What is, you know, I want you to think of it in a very, very deep way. Remember I told you before that honor comes as a surrounding light, right? That means this is a light which has no vessels. You know, an inner light means it goes into you. It goes to your head, to your mind, to your kishkas, to your feet, has a place, right? The surrounding light means that there's a light which has no vessel, because it comes from such a high place, you know, it cannot have vessels, right?
So I guess it comes from such a high place that it's so hard for us to receive honor. It's like it automatically is going back to Hashem.
Yeah, in a certain way, you know, you're right. But whatever you say, it's all included that it has no place, because it has no place, right? Remember what Rab Nachman says in Tzemach Tzedek, what's so holy about beggars, you know? Because a beggar has no place in the world, right? So he's closer to that light of God which has no place, you know? You know, there are more vessels, their life is more of a vessel to the light of God which has no place, right? But anyway, honor is like, you can't put your finger on, right? Why is it that I feel like giving honor to this person, not to that one, you know? It has nothing to do with words, you know, it's just a certain feeling, right? It's certain surrounding light. So Shabbos is lekavod Shabbos, you know? So therefore, if some of you could remember, you know, Shabbos, you must have holy beggars for Shabbos. Because if on Shabbos you want to taste a little bit this holy surrounding light, the fastest you can taste it is when you get a holy beggar to you. I don't have it here, but there's a real holy letter from the Tzemach Tzedek, you know. He writes to the Chassidim, he says, if you ever want to taste a little bit of kavod Shabbos, you know, the honor of Shabbos, you know, there's tasting Shabbos, and then there's another level, tasting the honor of Shabbos, you know. He says you can only taste the honor of Shabbos if you have a little holy beggar at your table on Shabbos. Because the holy beggars, they carry this holy, you know, this holy light which has no place. And this is really way out. But anyway, now we're talking about Shulchan Aruch, you're on. Sugar pie, you're coming. Okay, le zohar b'chvod Shabbos. You have to be very, very careful with the honor of Shabbos. It says like this: Afilu mishet tzorach lacherem. Even if you need other people, if you're a poor beggar, you know, it's really very, very holy. You know, like, you know, not only Shabbos, you only feel Shabbos when you have holy beggars. Like the beginning of Shulchan Aruch, you know, talking about Shabbos, he begins with the laws for beggars, right? He could start with rich people, then go down to beggars. But Shabbos is so much on the beggar level that he begins for laws for beggars. And he says, if you're a holy beggar and you need other people, but you have just a little bit on your arm, yeah? Have a penny. Buy something with this penny for Shabbos. Tzorech lezaris atzmo, then please make yourself very fast, do it fast and strong. Lechaber es Shabbos. And give honor to Shabbos. V'lo omru asei Shabbat chochol, but then he says, the Gemara says, make your Shabbos like a weekday, but don't ask for gifts, because a person shouldn't ask for gifts. He says this is only if it's really impossible for you, But if you can just get a little bit, then do something. Even if you can just one little penny. Therefore he says a holy beggar has to eat a little bit during the week, in order to have more food on Shabbos. Mitakonos Ezra, I don't know if you know this, Ezra Seifer, when we returned to the Holy Temple for the second time, Ezra HaSofer, the one who brought us back to the Holy Land, made a few little holy customs. One of the holy customs he initiated that everybody has to wash their clothes on Thursday. Nekov Shabbos. You know that? Yeah. In Mezerich was very, very strong, Like the Alter Rebbe was really a holy beggar. He couldn't give he had only one shirt. So he would go to the river, Thursday night, and wash his shirt, and then he would hide behind a tree somewhere, make a little fire, and wait till you hang up the shirt on on a little branch, and sit there and wait till the shirt is dry, and then put it on, Kavod Shabbos. And then this is for beggar girls. It says, Noegin lolush k'deshir chalev b'bayis. It's a good thing you should bake your own bread, Kavod Shabbos, a very holy thing. Then you should take challah, you have to take a little bit from the dough and throw it in the fire. This is very important for the Kavod of Shabbos, and please don't do any other way, I mean, it's a very important thing that someone should bake bread in the house for Shabbos. Okay, now comes the Holy Mogen Avraham. It says like this: what does it mean to honor the Shabbos? Well, the Yitzchos Mishnei Tavshil, it says at least, even if you're a holy beggar, you should have two, eat two things Friday night, like have soup and meat and dessert, something. It has to be two. Because a holy beggar during the week can maybe manage with one little, one little dish, yeah? Shabbos you must have two dishes. And then he starts saying, and he says, the truth is, according to the Zohar, you must eat fish 3 times. But this is only if you can.
Financially, or?
What?
Are they talking about financially?
No, he says, physically about kishkas. Then he says like this: if a person has enough money to eat 2 meals a day, that means he has enough money to buy 14 meals a day. The week is 7 days. You have enough money for 14 meals, right? But then on Shabbos you're supposed to eat 3 meals, right? So then you really should try maybe skip 1 meal during the week. Try to, in order to have 3 meals on Shabbos if you can. But the law is like this: if you have 14 meals, then you're not permitted to beg for Shabbos, If you have no meal on Shabbos at all, only 1 meal, then you can walk around and beg and tell people, I need money for Shabbos, right? But if you have only 2 meals on Shabbos, right, you don't have the third, then you have no right to ask yet for alms, right? But the best thing is if you can somehow manage to skip 1 meal. Then he says, why you're supposed to wash your clothes on Thursday, not on Friday? This is because if you only wash your clothes on Thursday, you won't have time for yourself on Friday, and you're supposed to have time for yourself, to wash yourself and bake and everything, so you should wash your clothes on Thursday. What's your name?
Buddy.
Okay, Ein Holchen be'erev Shabbos Yosem Megimel Pasos. Now we talk about Friday. You're not permitted to to leave the city more than 3 miles. Because maybe you if you walk away too far, it'll take you too long to come back. Who knows what's happening? You might come late for Shabbos. So that means you're not permitted to take a walk more than 3 miles. But this is only if you go there for business. But if you go there in order to buy food for Shabbos, then you can go very far and just hope that you'll be back on time.
What if you go there to get for Shabbat?
No, that's what I mean. If you go there to, I thought of it too because I travel so much on Friday. So that you don't have to come back. The whole thing is that you're afraid you won't be back on time. But if you go there, so that's okay.
Is something like
Chance you won't get there on time.
So that we'll learn in a few minutes. You should try. Actually, the truth is you should really try to leave before midday on Friday. Hoping that you should try not to travel after
Dark.
not after dark. You're not permitted. But I'm talking about. Let's say I always try if I have to leave on Friday to take the plane before 12. It's also
Did you hear that?
I heard it was that. But yeah. So then he says like this. Oh, this is really cute. The Mogen Avraham says this is only if you walk by foot, but if you have a little horse, then it's okay. Then he says it's also forbidden to make a feastale on Friday. This is very strong, You're not permitted really to make a feastale on Friday.
Friday night, you mean?
No, Friday during the day. He says even like engagements or weddings or anything, because if you have a feastale, then Friday night you're already knocked off. You don't have strength. So therefore, you should wait for Shabbos. And you should really enter the Shabbos when he's really hungry, like waiting for something. Yeah. Then he says something very strong. This is only just an ordinary thing, but what happens if there's a bris, circumcision on Friday? This is God's business. He made it on Friday, so you better have a feastale. There's nothing you can do about it, Or when there's a boy, his 30th day, and he has to have a little pidyon ben, and I will say, I'm not making, you got to, it's a mitzvah, you have to. Is that you can eat, it's after 12 Friday, you really shouldn't, I don't know some of you kids know, really after 12 you shouldn't really wash your hands and eat bread and sit down for a meal on Friday afternoon. But he says you can eat as much as you want to, but don't sit down. Because there is something, when you sit down at the table and have a feast, you don't feel Shabbos anymore. But if you really didn't have a feastale, you feel it more. Oh, I'm sorry, he says after 3. Not after 12, after 3. Then he says there were some super holy people who fast Friday. They really want to be hungry